friends, thank you very much for inviting me here tonight. And having a rally on a cricket field is absolutely brilliant. I've just checked that nobody has put chairs or anything across the wicket. The square is preserved, ready for the game tomorrow. I love cricket, okay? And this is one of an unbelievable series of meetings and rallies that we've been involved with ever since this campaign begun. Only 6 weeks ago, less than 6 weeks ago, during that time, we have taken part in 22 hustings debates, and this, by my calculation, is the 43rd public rally we've held in all parts of Britain. Last night we were in Norwich, absolutely ram-packed meeting in a hall, so we had to have an overflow outside. The day before we were in Belfast. 500 people came to a discussion in Belfast. The night before that we were in London. 2,500 people turned up, and we had to have 3 overflow meetings, including a big one in the street outside. And this is going on all over the country. Tomorrow we're in York, we're in Doncaster, we're in Leeds, and on Sunday we're in London again. And we're travelling all the time and going to Wales next week and to Scotland, because I think it's very important that everyone has a chance to take part in this discussion and this debate. I want to say a big thank you to all the other speakers on this platform for what they've said tonight, for the support that we've received from Unison. Thank you very much for the message. Thank you very much to Dave for the message that he sent. Thank you to all those that have spoken. Thank you very much for what you said. Your dad would be very proud of you tonight. And I just know that one of the former Bradford MPs, a great friend of mine, Marsha Singh, would not have been somebody we'd have had to ask twice to take part in and support this campaign. Thank you for what you said, and thank you in his memory. Bradford is a place that is very special in the history of the Labour movement. The ILP that was founded here, the way in which Bradford workers stood up against the mill owners, stood up against the oppression, stood up for decency and justice. Those people that also stood up for peace, a former MP, Norman Angell, who wrote The Grand Illusion, many others. There's that whole history of internationalism, peace and justice in Bradford, personified now in the university having a school of peace studies. Sadly, University College in London, King's College in London has a department of war studies. I prefer the Bradford option. And I couldn't let this moment pass without recognising some of the great figures of the Labour movement that came from here. Barbara Castle, Vic Feather, and so many others who learnt their trade, learnt their craft, learnt their skills in Bradford. And a great friend of mine, and I can't forget the day he died and the day we had that enormous funeral meeting for him in the centre of Bradford, the late Bob Cryer, and all the work that he did for peace and justice. So many people that have given so much, and a city that contributes so much by its diversity, by its strength, by its food, by its film, by its work. This is a strong and great city. But, and there's a but here with almost every city in Britain, there's the issue of poverty, there's the issue of injustice, there's the issue of the way in which central government seems to have a hatred and contempt for all things to do with local government and systematically cut expenditure, knowing full well the consequences to the poorest and most vulnerable in our society. This is one of the reasons why this campaign is so important. This is, at one level, an issue about the leadership and deputy leadership of the Labour Party. I didn't actually want there to be a leadership contest. Imran, Richard, myself and others took part in the Parliamentary Labour Party meetings straight after the defeat on May the 7th. And we put forward the view that it was the lack of a credible economic alternative that drove people down cul-de-sacs or drove people into abstention, that didn't excite people who should be natural supporters of the Labour Party and the Labour movement. So we said very clearly there had to be a real debate about an economic alternative. That was not to be. Instead, we had a leadership contest. And Imran and Richard were two people who sat in a committee room in Westminster opposite me and pointed the accusing finger and said, "Jereemy, you have got to do it." And I said, "Well, look, that's very, very kind of you, and I'm deeply appreciative. And if I may say so, two of the best election results on May the 7th were Bradford and Leeds, where you got such brilliant new members of Parliament elected." But at that time, we knew the hurdle, the 35 MPs that were required to sign the nomination papers. We knew the difficulties. But we made the point, and we make the point now, and we'll keep on making it. This is an opportunity for us to rediscover our party, rediscover our movement, rediscover our principles, and hone them forward with the hope and optimism and activism of youth to make something very special for the next part of this century. So we knew it was going to be difficult. We started off with 11 signatures. Then we had a 10% swing in our favour when I nominated myself to take it up to 12. And after that, the numbers grew agonisingly slowly. And I say thank you to all those colleagues who eventually did nominate, because they thought all members and supporters deserved an open debate and deserved an opportunity to be heard. And I say a huge thank you to all those people, young and old, who got on their computers, got on their iPhones, got on their iPads, and started sending Facebook messages, text messages, Twitter messages saying, "Give us a break, give us a chance, give us a choice." And that ended up with plenty of time to spare. We got 36 nominations. In fact, there was so much time to spare, it added up to nearly 120 seconds, almost 2 minutes before the close of nominations. And we got ourselves onto the ballot paper. 6 weeks ago, we had absolutely nothing other than one name on the ballot paper. And it's quite remarkable what's happened since then. People have been in touch, volunteering to help. As of a few days ago, over 6,000 people had registered as volunteers to help our campaign. And we started off with no money, and I'm very grateful to the unions that have come forward and helped either practically or helped with financial support to get us underway. Great. Thank you to all of them, because I am proud to be a trade union member, proud of the link of the trade unions to the Labour Party, and proud to be one of 6 million people in this country who voluntarily join a trade union because we see the value of collective action to defend, extend and expand our rights. But I also say thank you to those people that have given us donations to help to pay for this campaign, because to send out a direct mail to every one of the party members and registered supporters costs over £100,000. We've raised that money, and I have to say we've accepted no corporate donations. I also have to... Well, don't applaud, please, it's okay. We haven't accepted any, but I also have to say we haven't been offered any either. So it's been a fairly easy refusal of that source of money. So if there is any corporate millionaire in the audience, thank you for coming. We don't want your money. We want your support, but we don't want your money. The average donation that's been made to the campaign is somewhere around £20. This is ordinary people who want there to be a real and genuine political debate. So, where do we start? There's plenty I could say, and I can see the clock ticking round there to tea time in the match. So I will be as brief as I can, if you don't mind. Partly because my voice can't do long meetings. There's been too many of them, but I'll say this. We have been fed the lie that the economic crisis of 2008 was caused by greedy nurses, lazy street sweepers, doctors who weren't doing their job, the cost of schools, the cost of children's centres, of sure starts. We're being told that somewhere along the line it was all the fault of the social spending of the last Labour government. I've got news for them. I didn't think the last Labour government spent enough on some things. I think we made huge mistakes in allowing private finance into education and health. And that millstone is something we're still paying for. But I also think that that banking crisis of 2008-2009 was caused by the subprime mortgage crisis in the USA. It was caused by the lack of regulation of banks. It was caused by the greed and profit-taking of the banks. And it was caused by the failure of intervention much earlier on. When the banks were brought into public ownership, I supported that. When the bank shares were brought, I supported that. What I didn't support, I don't support, and I think was wrong, was to hand those shares over to a wholly government-owned company that can sell the shares at the discretion of the Chancellor of the Exchequer, whenever the Chancellor of the Exchequer feels fit. So who is George Osborne to sell our shares in RBS at a loss to the mates of the Tory party in the city? He should have used that opportunity to turn those banks into banks that invest in infrastructure, in housing for the needs of all, that invest in high-tech industries, that invest in green energy, that invest in the jobs and hopes and opportunities of our children for their futures. And so our proposals are that we don't accept the politics of austerity, because that's what it is. The politics of an arbitrary date to move into budget surplus, the politics of slashing public expenditure designed to help the most vulnerable, neediest and most desperate people in our society. And so we have to challenge that. And when we challenge this, we are not alone. We're endorsed by Joseph Stiglitz and others, Nobel Prize-winning economists, who say also that austerity is essentially a political message to reconfigure society in the image of the 1930s, if not in the eyes of some people, the 1830s. And so when we launched our consultation document, and every document to do with our campaign is a consultation document, I don't have the last word. Imran doesn't have the last word. Richard probably does, but the rest of us don't know so much. But each of us knows something the other doesn't know. Each of us has an opinion. Each of us has an experience. Each of us has a knowledge. Can't we do politics where we can all make a contribution and all come together to an agreed position to go forward for better justice, real social security and all those issues? So we put some ideas out there. Instead of quantitative easing going to banks, how about a national investment bank that can fund the improvements needed to our rail system, that can fund the council housing we need, that can fund the green energy jobs that we need, that can fund high tech? Those things are all possible. But they're not possible if instead of that you have a government that pursues a policy of selling off £30 billion worth of state assets in 1 year alone, almost double the highest level done by Margaret Thatcher at the height of her policies of destroying manufacturing industry, the mining industry and all other industries in Britain, and privatising everything she possibly could. This government is on the same course and the same mission. We, the Labour Party, we, the Labour movement, we, the people of this country, say something different. The purpose of an economy isn't just a book balancing exercise. I'm not saying it doesn't have its place, but it's not just that.